Okie dokie, everybody. Welcome back. You're here at the Fox Den with Pater Voss, the Papa Fox, and we're going to continue playing Tyranny. When we last left off, we had finished up in the Scarlet Chorus camp. We are not going to take the quest for them because I don't want to help them. We do have Lantry that we added to our party. He's a wizard of some sort, scribe to be accurate, and he does have a level up. So let's go take a look at what he has to offer. Okay. He has lots of resolve, lots of intellect, affliction, duration, endurance, and will and magic defense. Accuracy, we are going to give him some more spell strength. Save that. Yes. Oh, and he has another attribute point, so we are going to give him some more accuracy because I assume we're going to be keeping him on the back lines. So let's go ahead with... Oh, wait. Yes, that is exactly what we want. Okay, now we can give him 2 talent points. We have Quill, Sage, and Preservation. So, Quill. Okay, well-armored Quill. This is ranged stuff. Okay, Sage. So... Okay, with an arcane attack. Improves lore skill. Stands frozen. Bued. Okay. On weapon hit. Okay, so I assume that's valid. Oh, it is valid for all weapons, including ranged. Okay, miasmic strikes. Okay, weakened. This might be kind of interesting. And preservation. Renewal. Restores the party's weapons and armor to pristine condition. Increases damage. Protection. Okay. +1. Okay. Armor worn for 60 seconds. Cool. Awesome. Arcane shield. Greater renewal. Gifted healer. Control life. Determines ability to draw, manage, and a sigil of life. We are going to turn him into a healer. So let's go ahead with gifted healer. And we are also going to march him down the sage path. Control vigor, increases chance of critical hits. And arcane shield effects. Oh, yeah, no, why not? Let's go with that. Cool. Let's go ahead and save. Yes, please. Thank you. And we have this updated. Right. Now, the next thing is, every time we get a new character, we are going to talk with them. So let's see what we can do here. Lantry stops his stride, darting his hands about his bandolier and belt as he softly mouths off a mental inventory of his inks and quills. When at last assured his possessions are in place, he looks up at you with a smile. What might I do for you? Who are you? I mean, I know we just asked him this, but let's see what we can do. Apologies if I didn't properly introduce myself earlier. All my works are written under the name Sage Lantry of the Vellum Citadel. But outside proper citations, Lantry will suffice. 5 tomes are bound by my hand, and I've trained letters and numbers to nearly 1,000 minds. But most of all that work went up in flames. I'm sure I'm not the only person in the tiers wondering where life will go after these messy years. If you're going to be traveling with me, I need to know more about you. An understandable request. Let's see. Born in Sunder, no kids. What few longings of fatherly love I've got in my heart are satisfied by taking care of carrier birds. Learned my sigils and spells about 30 years back, and being able to defend myself has opened a life of field study. And I haven't grown tired of the wandering just yet. If he hasn't gotten tired by now, he's not likely to get tired anytime soon. I've written on all manner of subjects, magic, birds, language, geometry, but my main focus has been chronicling. I find there's no finer pursuit than recording the events of our times. There will always be legends of what happened. Someone ought to be making notes of the real thing. I really like this character. My field of focus when I was getting my bachelor's was, of course, history. So there we go. Aside from that, I don't know. I practice centering stance, draw portraits, make my own inks, and I have a sharp aversion to autobiography. I'm about as boring as watching a coral grow. I like this guy. How did you end up here in Vendrian's Well? When the Vellum Citadel was set aflame by Kyros' edict, I fled as fast as my knees could carry me. Every direction seemed a bad idea, but heading to Vendrian's Well seemed the least suicidal option. Mind you, I was laboring under the misconception that the Vendrian Guard had surrendered, and the fighting in the valley had stopped. Looking first at his left arm, then his right, he reads through the assorted notes inked across his skin. Ah, yes. 7th of Sparring. That's when I crossed the mountains. That would be 3 days after the Vendrian Guard jettisoned their surrender and claimed the citadel in the valley. The Vendrian Guard nabbed me and several other sages moving through the valley. The other sages were sympathetic to the Vendrian Guard. As for me, I just agreed so as not to get everyone killed. I think defying the Overlord is a really slow and stupid form of suicide. Tell me about your work with the Oathbreakers. The Vendrian Guard has several noble-born in their ranks, and they know their letters. Problem is, they've been from noble houses, scattered across the realms, each with their own private script. That's where the sages come in, and I come in. Between us, we're familiar enough with all the regional scripts to translate and coordinate. Translating is child's play, so I might have helped out a bit more. The old citadel at the center of the valley is a crumbling affair, and there's no time for proper construction. It seemed a crime not to put my magic to work. What did you learn from their plans in your time there? It won't surprise you to know their strategy is largely non-existent. They cling to the hope that their example will inspire others in the tiers to come to the valley and join the cause. The recent inaction between the Archons has emboldened them. Some even think the Archons fear the Vendrian Guard. I'm sure they have it quite wrong. What else can you tell me about the Oathbreakers and their forces? Well, the Vendrian Guard surrendered back in 429, and while a lot of them were conscripted in the chorus, 3 of the leaders, Captains Ari, Matani, and Florian, never turned themselves in. Instead, they hid in the valley, gathering up what resources they could until they could challenge the local garrison. Already, as a side note, this storyline is actually kind of reminding me a lot of Brandon Sanderson's Mistborn series. If you haven't checked that out, I would suggest doing it. It's fantastic, and it's also about what happens after the evil bad guy has won. So, very similar take. At highest count, earlier in the war, they numbered over 400, their ranks swollen by soldiers of Haven and Azir that survived the war. They are a dying breed, these Oathbreakers. Most in the tiers have finally come to realize that Kyros has already won. And before you ask, as a connoisseur of the inevitable, I have made my peace with the Overlord and bow to his might. We'll see. Hopefully he doesn't turn into be a total mean person. How did you wind up a prisoner of the chorus? I had to send some missives, and that meant getting to a clearing where my terns and doves might find me. The patrol with me was ambushed by the Scarlet Chorus. I tried to flee the scene, but some youngster tackled me, and, well, out of one fire into another. That's been the running theme this year. Let's talk about something else. What might I do for you? Tell me about your magic. Oh, I don't much like to brag about things like that. I'm not asking you to brag. I'm asking you to tell me what you can do. Well, my major areas of focus have been preservation, concealment, and healing. Arts that have served me well in this newfound life as a peripatetic prey animal. The sages study all kinds of magic, but as chronicler, I wanted magic that could help me see more, archive more, protect objects of historical value. Seeing as I feel like an old relic in need of some protection, my skills suit me well. Can you teach me anything? Sure. I can show you how to blend your own inks, train birds to think you're their mom, how to turn a goat into parchment, but I'm sure you prefer to learn some magic. If the school of ink and quill still mattered, I might be more tight-lipped, but if we're going to travel together, you should know more about how to mend wounds, especially if I'm killed. I know the edict still looms, but if you've a few hours, I could show you the basics of healing magic, or at least how I learned it. Well, yeah, cool. I would be honored to learn a little of what you know. Rummaging through his satchels, the sage produces a long quill and a crumpled piece of parchment. With 7 quick strokes of the quill, he inks a pattern on the page. We'll start with first principles. When mending wounds and easing pain, we invoke the magic of the orphan midwife, Archon of Rebirth. By invoking her sigil, we channel her mastery, however briefly, through our hands. Now trace the sigil, following the lines in the order I sketched them. Let's ask first. What can you tell me about this Archon of Rebirth? Didn't realize you gave a care about your history. Well, the orphan midwife was born in 160, bowed to Kyros in 201. They say where she walked, plants would sprout. The sick would grow vigorous. She'd also send most folks into fits of rage and animals into heat. She sounds like quite a riot. Dad joke for there we go. We know her magic by way of one of her first disciples, who migrated to the Tiers in 222 to spread her wisdom, an act that happened to be illegal under Kyros' law. For that and a host of other transgressions, the orphan midwife has been in prison for over a century, or so the story goes. Well, let's follow his instructions. Since this isn't your first cantrip, it'll move a little quickly, but I think you can keep up. Lantry walks you through countless repetitions of the signing of the mystic sigil. For hours, you wave your hand in the air to no effect, until at last you sign the pattern in the air and feel a rush of power through your veins. I'm getting a total imagery of... if you've ever watched The Adventure Zone, I'm getting the imagery of Taco teaching Angus MacDonald his first few cantrips. Oh, wow. And so, if you need to heal pain as opposed to purge an infection, you move your hand like so. But, you know, that's enough for now, and I think the rest of you can figure out on your own. Tell me more about the sages. For hundreds of years, the sages have been devoted to the collection and preservation of knowledge. We are scholars, bookmakers, archivists, and students of the mystic and the mundane alike. The wisest of our guild, not that I truly belong in that category, are versed in sigils and spellcraft. Or that's at least how it used to be. With the destruction of the Vellum Citadel, the sages have been scattered to the winds. There were once more sages than I could name. Many have died or been taken prisoner by Kyros' forces. What do you know of the Vellum Citadel? Lantry scowls. His writing hand becomes unusually still. I once felt a rush of pride at that name. Now it's a blight on our reputation. Reasserting his smile, he says, the Vellum Citadel was a beautiful sanctuary of parchment and ink. We had amassed knowledge from the Northern Empire to the coast of the Tiers. It would take a score of lifetimes to learn all the Citadel could teach you. But the sages in charge of the Vellum Citadel thought themselves above Kyros' rules. The Overlord learned the sages were copying and spreading lies and forbidden knowledge. Kyros put an end to life at the Citadel with his Edict of Fire. Lantry stops, putting his hands to his face. All that knowledge set aflame. I don't know if he's upset that they broke the rules or upset that Kyros set the edict. Probably a little of both, but let's see what happens. When we bind books, we bind them to last. Our most important tomes were warded against fire and other maladies. Lantry scowls. So many of the books remain intact as the shelf and floor melt away. I suppose it's still there if you want to brave danger and certain death for it. There is good reason they call it the Burning Library now. He shrugs. Who leads the school? I keep learning more names of those who died during the Edict of Fire, so my information could be obsolete. But with Sage Krevnik incinerated, Sage Renata would be the current provost. And if she dies, well, fuck. Thanks to all the recent deaths, maybe I'll be next in line. There, let's archive that away under things to worry about later. In truth, there isn't much guild left to lead. Our library fortress is in ashes, our membership in disarray, and it doesn't help that we have something of a spotty reputation here in the tiers. Fear of magic being something of a local specialty. What's your role in the guild? I'm one of the chief writers of the Chronicle. It's our attempt to record the truth of all things in their proper sequence. It's the ongoing life work of generations of sages, and I have the honor of witnessing and having my vantage point to be a matter of record. So one of the interesting things you learn when you study history, beyond the high school and elementary school level, is that you can never, ever get all of the information you absolutely need to know the truth about everything. So this is a little interesting. They're tasked with this, but this is actually an objective they will never be able to attain. And that requires a certain amount of humility to be able to process that. Whenever a historian makes a determination, they have to be able to basically hedge their bets and say that based off of this information, we can say certain things, but not everything. And that's something a lot of people don't like to admit. They think humility, to be humble, is a bad thing, and it's not. It's something that's necessary for especially anybody who has any kind of expertise from higher education. Well, let me ask about something else. Nope, let's talk later. Indeed, I have a finite appetite for discussing myself, and I am more than sated. Let's press onwards. Cool.
Right.
Cool. Let's actually take a look at that. Spell expression. Okay, restoring touch. Allied target plus 22% health. Let's assign that to me. And Lantry already has that. Cool. Awesome. There we go. Okay, that brings us a blur. Let's assign that to Lantry. Awesome. We learned some new stuff. Now let's see if we can actually make some progress on the story. Okay, so you have Echo Call Crossing, Trip Nettle Wilderness, and the Northern Clearing. Let's go to the Trip Nettle. Not going to read that. Okay, let's go. Do 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 do. Okay. Let's see what we have going on here. Ooh. Yeah, this is where the Scarlet Chorus had their stuff. We're going to try to get in the way of them. Oh, we can unlock that. Awesome. We get a potion of revival. Okay, 1 rune's removed and revived. That's awesome. That's what we need. Okay, let's actually put that in our pocket. Let's take a look at our stash. And let's put that in our pocket. There we go. Fake limp. Reinforcements? Finally! Come this way. We need to... The Scarlet Warrior pumps his tattooed arm in salute. Midway through the gesture, a look of confusion dawns across his painted face. Sister Verse? What did I do to deserve such a helping hand? A chuckle escapes the man before he shudders, placing a hand over his mouth. At once alert of the need to remain quiet, his voice drops to a harsh whisper. The fifth eye has a sense of humor, sending you. Verse returns a cold stare but says nothing. You two know each other. This one used to run with my pack until he left for Deathnell's gang. Motherless swine didn't even have the guts to fight me over the right to leave. He just packed up and left with his coward's tail between his fat legs. And wise move at that. How many have you lost under your command so far? He holds up a hand, stifling a smile. I misspoke. I'm sure you only got most of them killed. Can't rule out death by their own incompetence. It seems Deathnell didn't take my advice and have you gilded to curb your outbursts. Verse draws her blades into fluid motion. We're gonna grab him. Apologize. Now. With a swift, confident stride, you advance on Fake Limp and grip his neck before he could step away. His stance wobbles as you clench down on his throat, and he presses his arms against you, desperate to push away. At last he tears himself from your grip, grasping for air and clutching at his throat. I'm sorry, Mistress Voss. I did not mean any disrespect. Of course you did, and I couldn't care less. Just know this, you're not good enough to do it to my face. She glares at him. Clean yourself up. Apologies. I have been in the field for weeks, answering to no one. I've forgotten my place. Their camp is just yonder, and we've kept an eye on them for the last couple of days. Some of them left a few hours ago looking for food, maybe out on patrol, but they haven't returned yet. Might be wise to strike now while they're divided. How'd you find this place? Happy accident of a sort? He points east towards the mountain. We were up in the mountains with orders to keep the Oathbreakers in, and keep any would-be allies out of the valley. Strangest thing happens, Trimmer hit the pass. And the Tremors lasted a bit, so I figured they were magical, but there weren't no sign of Earthshakers or anybody. No, really, how'd you find this place? Nobody else in the chorus knew where this camp was. His eyebrows rise up. Not sure what you're playing at, and I don't like your tone. We have orders to watch the mountains east of here and found this spot on our trek back to camp. What can I say? I answered the Archon of Secrets. I don't get told a lot of details, but I sure see a lot of coincidences. What's your plan now? I lost 2 of my gang in the mountains, and we've been on half ration for days. So until we get a much larger contingent, we're not likely to win any fight we start. Now that you're here, I figure my gang will hold back and keep an eye out for trouble. Maybe swoop in if things get messy. I can handle this. No need to push your warriors past their limits. We're going to do that. Smiling broadly, he claps his hand in approval. Kyros would applaud your bravery. My gang and I will lurk nearby. When you make your move, we'll descend to help with capturing Florian. Don't worry, I'll let the others know you did the heavy lifting. I'll cheat at battle, but not with my reputation. And with that, we're actually going to end the episode here before we get into this little bit of kerfluffle. I'm sorry that there's just been so much story. This is really a fascinating game, and I'm so excited to dig into it. So hopefully you'll forgive me on my exploration of this world. As always, it's great to see you all here at the Fox Den. If you've enjoyed, go ahead and hit that like button or give me some feedback. If you enjoy my other videos, then subscribe to the channel. Well, I hope you'll pull up a chair next time and join me for some more Tyranny by Obsidian Entertainment. Alrighty, you take care now. Bye.